welcome to another episode of the Inner Business Podcast. It's a very special episode because today I am revealing my business coach. Yeah, this is Russell. He's been helping me over the last 2 months. Look at him. Look how tidy he is. He's been helping me over the last 2 months with my business because I believe every business owner needs at least one good coach mentor to keep them on track. And I'm sure Russell will have some stories to share. In fact, we have a lot of jokes to share with you today. But Russell, before I go into this, tell us, who the heck are you and what do you do in the world?
Well, I am a business coach and I work predominantly with other coaches and I help them get clients online. But it's more than that. I help people become leaders to really lead themselves and their business so that they can show up fully for their business and their clients. In my past life, I used to be a primary school teacher, so we used to have that connection as former educators as well.
Yeah, we both wear that t-shirt. So that's a great thing. So what drew you then to work with coaches like me? What drew you to work with us?
It was a bit of a journey, to be honest. It started when I was teaching and I got extremely burnt out because I'm a, what would you call it, recovering people pleaser in my past life. And so I used to give a lot of myself for my job and too much so that I never had anything left for my family or myself. And I used to blame my school a lot and think it was my school's fault. And if I just changed schools, everything would be wonderful and amazing. But I changed schools and I realized that the problem was me.
Gee,
so
I think we've all been there though.
I 100%. And so then from there, I got help from a coach and I got amazing results. And I thought that would be something that I would love doing. And so I took a year's leave without pay from my teaching job to start a coaching business. And I worked with teachers to help them rediscover passion and joy in their lives. And over the journey, I found out that I was really good at systems and marketing and sales. And eventually a coach pushed me towards that direction because one thing I love doing is taking systems and breaking them and rebuilding them. Then I discovered my love for expanding other people's impact and their mission, because I remember what it was like in my business, really struggling to get clients and feeling like I wanted to give up. And so I never want anyone else to feel like that. And so there's so many great coaches and business owners out there who want to give up on their dream because they either don't know some skills or they've got certain things blocking them internally. And so I love being able to help people have that impact and live their dream.
And I know that you use lots of tools in doing that. Like, you're like me. We both love a good system. We both got a background in education, so we love connecting with other people. I'm an NLP practitioner. You are an NTT practitioner. And you also introduced me to Breathe with Sandy, which is a secret superpower, because you really love using breath work too, don't you? Do you want to share a little bit about what is NTT? How does that work with your coaching, and how does breath work sort of come into it as well?
Yep, great question. So I'm a big believer in Pareto's principle, which is the 80-20 principle. And it works across every area of our life because 80% of every problem usually comes down to us and 20% is the thing. And so if we look at our business, usually the success of our business comes down to 80% of what we're doing, what we think, what we believe, what's happening in our subconscious, our values, all of those things. And 20% is the actual thing. Because someone could give me the best strategy, but if I'm scared of showing up online, I'm not going to do it. What we do is directly attributed to what we believe, our past experiences, any negative emotions we're holding in our nervous system, and our values. And so the neurotransformation therapy, NTT, uses some NLP techniques, which I'm sure Selena's talked about a lot before. But what it basically does is it works with the subconscious, because the subconscious is the big driver of our behavior. And it allows us to change our patterns that we're running, or our triggers, or our stuff that's happening at the subconscious level, which gives us longer lasting change. And then we lay a breath work in on top of that, because then breath work is a tool that we can use to regulate our nervous system so that we can make decisions from a calm, regulated place where we can engage our prefrontal cortex and solve them rather than from a place where we're in fight, flight, freeze, fawn. So we can solve things and we can lead ourselves through problems in our business rather than be reactive. We can actually lead ourselves and lead our clients through those situations.
Yeah, and I love that. And so the reason that I wanted to work with Russell is that really. Because I'd worked with a lot of coaches, like, I have lots of coachy friends. To lead, I did lots of stuff, but what I really liked about working with Russell was that stuff around the nervous system. And as you know, everybody listens to this knows that Russell and I are reading from the same book. We both believe in this very strongly, so it's really interesting finding a coach on the same page who is willing to trigger me. Now, we have a joke that Russell's main job is to make me feel uncomfortable enough that I cry, really. And I have cried quite a lot. We joke about your job being basically to trigger me. And some people might be a bit alarmed by that job description. But would you like to explain what that looks like? Be kind. Would you like to explain why it's important and
yeah, sure.
Why triggering is actually really important for me? Go on, be honest with them. Be nice.
Yeah, 100%. Well, what generally happens is when something happens that triggers a past emotion or past event that has any sort of negative meaning to it, our brain automatically creates a new meaning in our head to protect us from feeling that old feeling again. So if we have any, let's just say, emotions that are tied to showing up and being visible, then if we never go back and we heal and we change those meanings that our brain automatically creates, then we keep experiencing those things and we subconsciously stop putting ourselves in situations so that we'll experience them again. And so one of the things that happens when we run a business is I actually think it's one of the most difficult things that you can do, because I'd put it right up there with having kids in how
yes, it is like a little baby, isn't it? Yeah,
in
yeah.
that it shows it's every part of you.
Mirror. Yeah.
It shows every part of you that's not healed, and so any fears you've got around showing up, around visibility, around sales, around money, around your own worth, any of that sort of stuff will come out. And so when Selena says that I trigger her, it's not that I consciously ask provoking questions to trigger her. It's just if she's feeling uncomfortable, I ask her, what meaning may she be creating? Why is she feeling that? And it's coming from a place of love and curiosity so that we can then find out, well, what's the root cause of that? And then we can actually address it at the subconscious level so it stops playing out as a business pattern.
Yeah, and that's exactly the work that I do with my clients too. So I know that you're not evil, really. But there's something, isn't there, as a coach, when a client is working with you and they're like, oh, and you're like, yes, clear it. Because the unconscious mind is like, I've said to you, I think the last week I said to you, well, I've got 3 here. This one's a big response. So I think that one needs to go first. And then I think this one will come up. You get really, the more you practice this self-development, the more aware you get of the energy rising, the release being ready. So yeah, I would like to confirm that Russell is not mean. And that's why I hired him, because I wanted to work with him in a way. Well, obviously, I wanted a coach who thought like me, felt and could understand. And a lot of the coaches that I'd worked with weren't like that. I wasn't interested in just another 8-step plan to lead gen. I needed someone who believed in this same philosophy. So it was really, really good. So what do you notice happens to one of your clients, like a coach that you're working with? What do you notice happens around specifically? You've talked about visibility, so let's do sales. Share some story about sales and what do you notice are the common things that come up so that people are like, oh, I see. Give an example there.
Yeah, so there's quite a few things that come up with sales because particularly in Australia, sales is viewed as a bad thing. It's viewed as like a manipulative thing or that you're trying to take advantage of people, where And those, like, I remember specifically having beliefs passed down from my dad where he would say things like all salespeople are snake oil merchants and that sort of stuff. And and so
I used to have the used
what
car
generally
sales.
happens
In
is
fact,
those
I'm
beliefs
going to interrupt
play-
you here because culturally, right? Do you know who my salesperson is? And this is an Australian. I'm English, remember? All my former Lou Carpenter from Neighbours. Did you watch Lou? You probably didn't watch Neighbours because you're Australian. But Lou Carpenter,
No, I
that
don't
was
watch
where I
Neighbours.
got the ick for sales from. Yeah, and he was a used car salesman. So I'm with your dad. Yeah, I don't know if it's just an Aussie thing, but yeah, that vibe. You get this story running, right? Exactly what you were just talking about. There's a story running. What's the story?
Yep. And then what happens is that story is that, or that meaning or that limiting belief actually sits at the subconscious. And so consciously we might think, yeah, I'm just solving a problem, or I'm just serving, or I'm providing value. But then it shows up in little ways. So it might be that we feel uncomfortable actually asking for a sale, or it might be we feel uncomfortable with our pricing. We might try and lower it, or we might try and coach too much on a sales call.
Don't know who that
Or we
is.
might
Don't know who that is.
we might go into No, I don't know either. Don't know who. Or we might do things like people will almost be ready to hand over their money and buy, and then we'll subconsciously start pushing them away and backing off. Or we might use desperate energy because we might be operating from a scarcity place where we're feeling like we're constantly chasing, and that repels people. Or we might, at the start of a sales call, we might position ourselves in a low way because we're not confident about what we do, and we let the other person kind of run the sales call. There's all sorts of ways it plays out, which is fascinating. Yeah, something like that.
Yep.
I think it's to become less controlled by our triggers. And so our triggers are always going to still happen, but it's having the power to recognize them and then approach them from a sense of curiosity and create space so we're not acting unconsciously. So if we're triggered, we can recognize when we're being triggered, we can pause, we can make sure we're regulated and respond in a regulated way rather than letting our triggers control us.
It's that emotional work,
because
isn't
we're
it?
always going to find new things that upset us.
Yeah,
100%.
and until
Yes.
you're a bit like,
It's
I need a break.
yeah. It doesn't necessarily have to be a badge of honor that I've gone deeper than anyone else in the world. It's more just about finding that balance of I'm aware that this is happening for me. How can I respond in a way that's going to serve the future I want rather than the past stories I'm running in my head?
And particularly when we think about some of the bigger problems that our clients come to us about, like, I've got written down here, I don't have enough clients, right? I think that's probably what I said to Russell 9 months ago as well. That was probably exactly where I started, right? And people will go, oh, it's a strategy problem. Here's the 8-step plan to LinkedIn lead generation. What do you think is actually going on, though? Is it that simple?
It's never that simple. Generally, what happens is people always come to you with a symptom. So the symptom is I don't have enough clients is a symptom. But underneath that, there's usually a cause. And your job as the coach is to find out what is the actual cause of this problem. Because like not having clients is just a symptom. And so what's underneath that? Is it some sort of fear? Is it some sort of limiting belief? Is it some sort of values misalignment? Is it some sort of meaning? Is it like are you stuck constantly improving energy? Could be any of those things. Or maybe it's just a missing skill. And so your job is to diagnose where the gaps are. This is where I use my teaching analogy a lot, because my job isn't to say there's an 8-step system that solves everyone's problems. It's about meeting people where they're at and filling in the gaps to get them to where they need to be. And those gaps might be a systems gap. They might also be some sort of internal blockage. Most people get stuck in that 80%, doing things like changing their Canva backgrounds, creating a website that nobody's going to click on because they don't want to drive traffic to it.
Because our brain is happy there. Oh, this is exciting. Woo! Rather than the thing that actually involves the growth, which is inevitably going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to be discomfort and is going to make our nervous system wobble, isn't it? every time.
And it's that thing around our identity as well.
Yes.
You know, because if we're stuck at this lower identity of being like a beginning coach, we're going to behave like a beginning coach. Or if we're at a person who says, I'm a, content consumer rather than a content creator, we're going to behave as that. And so we need to start evolving and up-leveling our identity so it matches the future that we want. Otherwise, it's avoidance. And it's very hard to break avoidance if people aren't aware of it. We want people to be connected. And that's where regulation comes in, because the more regulated you are, the easier it is to feel when you're out of alignment or when things are coming up and you have to either sit with them and face them rather than run from them.
And you got to feel safe to do that, right? So it's important that the relationship you have with your coach
100%.
is a safe space.
Yep. Well, regulation, I'll give you the perfect example. When I used to coach teachers, there's this wonderful group called Teachers of Adelaide on Facebook. It's wonderful.
Know it well.
And I did a post in there one Friday afternoon, and I didn't think it was a very controversial post, but it was about how the more we focus on things we want and the more positive things we focus on, the more we start noticing more positive things and it expands. And obviously it started coming out into people's feed right when they were having Friday afternoon happy hour. And about 50% of the people on that post were very supportive of it. And about 50% of the people were very nasty, mean and aggressive. And my nervous system couldn't handle that. And so I took it down. And even though that post actually got me even though that post actually got me 2 or 3 clients because they really resonated with that message, my nervous system couldn't handle being that visible. Couldn't handle, I had this people pleaser part of me that still wanted to be liked, and I couldn't stand being disliked. And so the more regulated we are, we can actually speak our truth and feel comfortable with that, because part of our job of our content is to not just attract who we want, it's to repel who we don't want.
Yes.
And so that content repelled a whole lot of victims, which is exactly what I wanted it to do, because I don't work with victims. I want people that want to grow and want to get better, and the people that don't, they're the ones who sit around in the staff room complaining about everything, and I don't want to work with them. So the content did its job. Ready.
They're not
I just wasn't regulated enough to manage it.
So imagine what needs to happen next for them to grow.
Well, the first thing we do is we always ask for consent. So I always say, look, I've noticed this. Is it okay if I tell you something I've noticed? Because first we want consent, because not everyone's ready to face themselves. And so if someone's feeling in a triggered state and they don't feel like facing it at that moment, they don't have to face it at that moment. So the first thing we want is consent. And the second thing we want is we want to be able to give them some space to feel the emotion. Because one of the things we regularly are told to do is to stuff the emotion down and to ignore it and to just get on with it. And then we get into a pattern of avoidance. It's about holding space. And if you're allowed to process the emotion, emotion is energy in motion. It's got to move somewhere. And the more we force it down and trap it, the more it becomes stuck and can block our energy flow in our body. And so it's important first to allow ourselves to feel the feeling. Then the second step is we want to ask ourselves, well, what's the meaning we're creating here? Then once we can work out what the meaning we're creating is, the next step we need to ask ourselves is that actually true? Can I challenge this meaning and can I create a new meaning? And so being able to, that's where regulation comes in, because if you're regulated, you can feel an emotion and then you can pause and you can ask yourself, well, do I actually believe that? Or is it, pardon my French, bullshit?
There's a lot of bullshit. There's a lot of bullshit. Our brand license, I'm cool with that way.
Yeah, so
it's important, but I can't do that without being regulated first, right? And that's the skill set that I've developed, right?
Where the breath is important, because the breath is so the body is the subconscious mind, and the breath is the connection between the body and the mind, the subconscious mind and the mind. It's the gateway, because whenever we're in a specific emotion, we breathe in certain different ways. So when we're frightened, we breathe in a shallow way, versus when we're calm and regulated, we breathe deeply and through our nose. And so if we're consciously aware of how we're breathing, it can help us regulate a lot faster. I have to do this with my children. We have to co-regulate. you know.
Yes, it is.
So I have to co-regulate with my son when he's upset. I have to hold him next to me and just say, I want you to breathe in time with me, because I can tell you're breathing through your mouth really shallow. So let's breathe in through the nose together, and then big sigh. And we do a few of them, and then he can actually tell me what the problem is, rather than when he's dysregulated, and that's the language we use at home, regulated or dysregulated. He'll be, you know, having a moment, and he'll be really dysregulated, and I'll say to him, can you solve this when you're dysregulated? And he'll say no, and I'll say, well, what can we do to get regulated?
No, I want to say yes. Shut up, Dad, stop being so wise.
He doesn't usually choose breath work, but we have to co-regulate together until, rather than me responding from a triggered state and him
and that is
from
hard.
a triggered state, because then we just get the bigger.
It's exactly the same in your business, right? You said before the analogy, like, we allow the business to like press our buttons, and then we're like, oh God, I'm gonna do it. Whereas if we were regulating with our business, taking a deep breath rather than throwing the laptop out the window is advisable. So I love that. Yeah, it's all about being really in tune with that nervous system.
It's the same as with our clients. When our clients are dysregulated, we don't want to join them in dysregulation. We want to be able to regulate ourselves. It's like the metaphor is, if a client's in the swamp, we don't want to go join them in the swamp, because then you've got two people that need rescuing. We need to be able to stand on the side and throw a rope in to rescue them. Yeah. But a lot of people want to help by being empathetic, and they go and join the person in the swamp. We've got to, you know, that's part of being regulated, is being outside, so we can bring them out. We always need to keep getting support for different things, because there's always going to be different gaps. Nobody can do it all. And so at some point, we're going to hit something that triggers us, and we're going to need support in that area. At some point, we're going to need a new skill, and so we're going to need support in that area. And so it's like, I'm going to use a teaching metaphor again. It's like a classroom teacher can't just do a teaching course and say, yep, I'm a great teacher and I'm never going to learn anything again for the rest of my life. This is a learning game. You've got to keep up leveling. And the only way to up level is to constantly be working on yourself and working on the skills you need for your business.
Yeah, absolutely. It is exactly like that. I like that in any profession, honestly, or in any relationship even. You know, if we see business as a relationship that's a mirror, you know, we're learning from each other. So that makes me think, you know, when you have someone come to work with you, in your view, what is the difference between a coach who is genuinely ready to call in more clients versus a coach who thinks they want more clients? Because it's interesting, this one.
They have to be willing to be honest and be real with themselves. So it's about courage over, you know, it's about taking action. It's about, it's about doing the hard things now so that we can have an easier sort of time in the future, because every new thing we do is challenging. And so what I'm really looking for is, like, what people say isn't important. It's more about what they do. Like, people can say anything, but I'm always not judging people, but I'm always looking for the truth behind what people say is reflected in what they do. And so I'm always looking for people that are congruent, for people that genuinely care and want to help people. They're the kind of people I love working with, because like the more congruent someone is, the more they're going to embody what they do and lead, rather than just someone who's interested in getting more clients.
And it is that congruency, because if someone arrives saying, I want 50 new leads, which is interesting language, I want 50 new leads. Okay, cool. What are you going to do with those leads? What kind of leads? There's lots of questions already there. I want 50 more leads, and they're not congruent with that, but they maybe are not consciously aware of that right now. So perhaps there's a pattern underneath about visibility. Perhaps there's a pattern underneath about speaking on social media. Perhaps there's a pattern underneath running about, I'm crap at technology. Perhaps there's all sorts of pieces or protectors that are there. And so they think in their conscious mind that that's what they want. But everything internally is screaming, heck no, that's terrifying. And so they're out there hustling, buying the suit, looking really fancy, hustle, 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 and going, banging their head against a brick wall. You know, it's interesting, isn't it? And then there's a difference, I think, in my clients between those who are congruent in the sense that I really want this and I'm prepared to go to these places and find out what's blocking me. And those who are congruent on a conscious level, but are not willing to do the work internally. They think the answer is another certificate like that one on the wall or that one on
Something
the wall, or
outside of themselves.
Yeah, outside of themselves. Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting, isn't it? And I think that's
really
the key.
everything that's happening to us externally is just a reflection of what's happening on the inside. So if our external world is chaos, then usually it's a mirror that internally we've got a lot of uncertainty and confusion and all of those things. It's really important that, people willing to do the work and people willing to be self-honest for me are always people that I love working with.
That's my favorite thing. My favorite thing is to help someone see what's already there, uncover what they already know, connect with that, and then fly to the next step, and then get really excited when they hit the next wall and go, great, let me show you what's on the other side of that one, and just watch them climb. So, so if someone is listening to this and recognizing themselves, I'm the guy who's read all the books, but I'm also someone who is really interested in exploring what we've just described there. What do you think is another way they could do something differently this week? Instead of a strategy, what would you advise they do? Instead of going buying another $29.99 course off YouTube, what would be an alternative way to move forward, do you say?
Whenever you find yourself feeling uncomfortable or feeling resistance, take a step back from the situation and ask why. I think that's the most powerful thing you can do, and just sit with it. Most people want to escape it. They want to go onto their phone and scroll, or they want to be busy, get trapped and stuck in busyness. And I think the most important thing you can do is to take a step when you feel that resistance, to ask yourself why first, and then really to see if it's an actual threat your body's detecting or if it's just, a story.
I love that. That's good. I'm really curious, what does a regulated day look like for you? How do you lead yourself in that way?
Yeah, great question. A regulated day for me starts with grounding, and it starts with leading myself from a place of calmness. One of my non-negotiables is breath work in the morning, because I know if I don't do it, my results are 80% worse than when I do it. So and it doesn't take long. You can do it in as little as 5 minutes if that's
5 minutes. Yeah.
But the thing is, I just notice such a difference if I do it versus I don't do it. I notice my emotional state isn't as good. I get frustrated more easily. I find I jump from task to task more, so I'm not as productive. And so it's really important to start off the day regulated and grounded for me.
You're not an employee, you are a business owner, you're the leader of a business. You have the freedom to do it differently. That's why we chose to do this stuff, right?
Yeah, the better your energy is regulated, the better your energy field is, the more that's going to trickle down to your employees and your family and stuff anyway. Because if you're in a room with someone who's dysregulated, you pick up on their energy, and then you can become dysregulated. And so if you're leading your business with great energy, that's gonna trickle down for your staff, or your family or whoever.
So what have you got going on at the moment, where people can find you? Tell us, how do we reach out to you?
I'm everywhere. I'm on every socials. No. So
He probably
I'm
is.
on LinkedIn,
He is.
Facebook, Insta.
They can connect with you on LinkedIn and Instagram. We'll put those below as well in the description and in the show notes.
If you really resonate with the way I work, you're welcome to reach out, and we could organise a 45-minute chat where there's no sort of pressure or anything, where we can just diagnose what's happening for you in your business and anywhere that some of these blocks or things might be happening for you, and see if we can put a bit of a plan in place. So I'm happy to do that for your listeners as well.
Beautiful. Any final thoughts you'd like to leave our viewers with today before we sign off?
Just, I suppose, that be you. You're created in the way you're created because you were supposed to be like you. And so the more you can get rid of these fears and negative thoughts and all of that sort of stuff, the more you can be you. And our greatest superpower is authenticity, because we're behaving exactly the way we were meant to behave. And so just be you. Authenticity is your superpower.
Thank you so much for your time, Russell.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.